and please don't call me sir, call me Abhinav. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm not that old.
yeah, it's okay. So we'll be starting. I'll start with the introduction. So good evening, everyone present here. Welcome to day 4 of Luminaries 2.0, a professional talk series, more popularly known as Wisdom Week. So as for today's speaker, we have our college alumni, Mr. Abhinav Tyagi. So it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. It's good to meet you all.
Yeah. So I'm sure most of the audience here would have looked up your profile and would have an idea about you. But let me give a brief introduction about you. So, Mr. Abhinav sir graduated from SVNIT in 2016 from mechanical engineering, and he has worked with various industrial giants since then, like Reliance, Massive Mobility, etc. So, and today the session is going to be about MBA abroad. We'll be discussing about the do's and don'ts of MBAs and how to get admitted into MBA programs internationally, MBA programs abroad. So today's session will be divided into two parts. The first will be a talk by Sir, which will be around 20 minutes, where he'll be discussing about his journey, his preparation, etc. And then after that, we'll be opening the session for the audience interaction. I would request some general rules to be followed during the talk. That is, the speaker should not be interrupted during the talk. Any queries or doubts will be entertained when the session opens for the audience. When given the chance to ask your doubts, students are requested to unmute their mic and speak up or put their questions in the chat box. We are expecting a smooth session. Now, from here, I'll be requesting Abhinav sir to take on. So please.
Okay. Thanks for introduction, Arushi. So hi guys. As Arushi was telling you, I graduated in 2016, and I started my career working at Reliance, and I think I got selected on the campus only. So I worked there for a year, and then I could leverage my background in energy to like switch to Go Massive. So Go Massive is an early stage venture capital firm, and we used to invest in early stage startups, mostly working around clean technology. So you can say in the sectors of mobility, it could be electric vehicles and going towards clean energy, solar, and all that. So this was my work experience broadly. So given my journey, like I was quite sure that I didn't want to do my MBA from India, and I wanted to do an MBA only after getting some work experience. So that's why I chose this path and decided that I'll work for some time and then pursue my MBA. In terms of preparation, I think the only thing that is required to apply to MBA colleges abroad mostly is one thing is Gmat, and other thing they generally look for is work experience. So that's why I was preparing for GMAT while working. So I think I started preparing for it in 2019, and it requires 6 months of prep. It could be like 3 months also. It's like very similar to GRE. Like you can make your roadway and also complete your GMAT in 3 months. So but it definitely requires being more structured and preparing for it. And I think it obviously depends what kind of path you want to follow. For example, it's if you want to do an MBA just after the college. So Indian schools are good. So it all depends what kind of path you want to follow, basically. So if you want to work, like do an MBA after doing some work, so then it's options would be like ISB, or you can try for colleges in Europe and US. So I think that basically depends on you. So I would love to answer any specific questions you guys might have. Like that would be more helpful for me than just giving general gyan. So yeah.
First of all, you are from a college, so that's like something to look up to, because someone from us going abroad and getting admitted into such a prestigious college is something to really look up to, and that's a kind of is an achievement for you and something that we can look up to. One of the questions I have was, uh, in MBAs abroad, yeah, that scholarship is all the MBAs abroad cost a hefty amount. The expenditure is too much. So how did you manage that?
So yeah, so getting scholarship is definitely an option, but if you're like trying for top 10 schools, so the chances of getting scholarship are very low, because it gets tougher and tougher, when you're like aiming for top B schools, and also like you're then competing with other people. So there, lot of my batchmate here are from IIT. So I think it's a little difficult to get scholarships, but what happens is, for example, at Kellogg, they have their own student loan program. So, for example, if I talk about the budget, so you need to like account for $200,000, so that would be like 1.5 CR. But what happens is that the university provides you student loan, so that is at around 4%, so it's like not very expensive. So like funding your MBA, it's not going to be a problem if that what you're talking about. So what happens is, in whichever college you get admitted, so all these universities have this loan program. They also don't expect you to have that kind of money, and which is also not possible. So you get like a loan at very a cheap loan, like around at 4% per annum, and I think that helps you to fund your education. So for example, I had some savings, and apart from that, the college covered all the tuition.
Okay, so we have a question coming from Mahandeep. That is that does a person having work experience gets upper hand in getting admission into B schools as compared to someone who is applying directly after graduation?
Yeah, so what happens is, so if you are like talking about MBA programs in the US, so they want you to have work experience of at least 4 to 5 years. Lower than that, I think, that's why I was talking to you guys about this earlier also. Like, it's fine to do, an MBA just after the college. So that is also fine. Like, then you can, probably think about giving CAT. So when you like cross the threshold of working, for 3 years, then it makes more sense to like do a program from ISP or some of the global B schools. But answering your question, yes. So if you want to apply to a global B school, so they expect you to have like 4 to 5 years of experience. So when I applied, I had completed like 4 years. So yeah, I think I have some more questions.
Yeah, I'll be asking them. It's good, like we discussed, it would be an interactive session
Yeah,
rather than a one or
yep,
talk by you. And an
yeah,
interactive
yeah,
session always of course
yeah,
engages the audience more.
just can you like keep a track on that? I think if you could
Yeah,
help me with the questions, I can, go ahead
yeah,
and
yeah,
answer them. Yeah.
yeah. Sure. The next question is, what is the difference in USA as compared to IMs, like USB schools as compared to IMs? Like, what is the difference in the student background, the cultural atmosphere, etc.?
I'm
I guess
sure.
that's what
So
he's asking to ask. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yes. So in terms of the experience you get and the kind of people, background of people, it's like a lot more diverse what you might get in India. For example, when you do your degree from IIM, what will happen is most of the people will be from India. So if you're like looking for a more diverse experience, so global B schools are definitely the way to go. So I can like tell you a little bit about the batchmates I have. So, like Kellogg has people from like diverse industries, okay? So there might be an architect, or there might be someone who's working in social sector. Then there are people who have done engineering degrees, or like, there are even people who have like done bachelor's in art, and then they pursue their MBA for different reasons. So if you talk about the IM experience, so it would be like significantly different and more global for sure. Also, most of our professors here are industry veterans. So, what happens is we have like these professors called clinical professors. So, what they do is like they'll be like working for industry in most of their careers, and they also teach. So, definitely, it's a good good way to have them, because then they bring their industry expertise. And why global B schools require people to have like 4 5 years of industry experience. So when discussions happens in the class, so people can contribute differently through the kind of work experiences they had.
Like they could bring the real life experience to the
Yep, yep,
classroom.
yep. So the classes here at like in the US are more discussion based. So you are so for example, if it's like a strategy class, so it's normally a case discussion where you are thinking about like a particular problem. Hey, like this thing happened in this industry. So professor moderates the session somehow. You are solving the problem, and also like gaining different experiences of people might would have had in their careers.
Okay.
Yep.
So the next question we have is like few people tell that MBA from Canada is easy and affordable. So what's your thought? What your take on that?
So so this is basically depends on the geography you want to be in after working. Okay, so if you want to be in US, you need to pursue a degree from US. If you be want to be in Canada, then you need to pursue a degree in Canada. So making a switch from Canada to US always gets difficult. But if I would say in terms of opportunities, I think US has a far more opportunities compared to what you might get in Canada. And also in Canada, I don't think it will be significantly cheaper. If you like compare on currency basis, I think it will cost you the same amount, like at least 1 CR plus. If you're like talking about the MBA programs, if you plan to do like a master's, so that's a little cheaper. But I would say in terms of opportunities, US is the best country you could have.
Yeah, okay. Uh, One of the questions we have here is the competition level of GMAT as compared to JEE. Like
Uh,
you have
uh,
cleared both of the exams, if you could give given
yeah,
comparison of the two.
yeah. So what happens is, when you're like talking about GMAT, and I'll not compare JEE and GMAT because those are like totally different exams. So in terms of GMAT, a good comparison would be CAT. So what happens in CAT, I think if you guys are preparing for it, you get a percentile, and that ensures your admissions. So when you are giving GMAT, you get a score. So the score is out of 800, and you need to score at least 720 plus to get into a good B school. Okay. And like I had 740. And in terms of difficulty, it's not difficult. It's like more, it has basically two components. One is the quant part, and one is the verbal section. So in the quant part, they would have general questions around algebra, nothing that sort of difficult level compared to JE. So it's like similar to CAT, I would say. So they'll have a quant section and then a verbal section, and I think you need to score there, and then you get a score, which it's out of, as I was telling you, it's out of 800. So I think a good GMAT score is 720 plus if you want to try for top 20 business schools. And then it comes down to the kind of work life you would have and the leadership experiences you would have. So I think those two are very things you need to have.
Okay. So Amit here has a doubt he would like to personally ask. Amit, you may
Yeah, yeah.
unmute and ask your doubt.
Hi Abhinav sir. I'm Amit. I'm currently pursuing my final year, and I gave
Yep,
CAT and I got around 99.4 percentile. I
yep.
just wanted to ask, as compared to the top three IIMs, three odd IIMs, and compared to the Kellogg and Wharton, does it affects other than the global diversity you have over there, and in comparison with the professors and the case-based pedagogy and other things?
So what you're trying to ask is how these
Yeah, like
experiences
what
are different.
exact different is there at the other US B schools compared to the Indian B schools?
Okay, so as I was talking you, so first is definitely the kind of, batchmates you have. So as I was telling you, when you're like coming to Kellogg, there are so many people who would have had, different experiences. They would have like worked in consulting, or someone is from tech background, have different kind of experience around product management. So I think definitely one thing you have is this global network you build. For
Right.
example, like uh, lot of, so it's basically the kind of people, the network you build
Right,
basically.
networking. MBA is
Yeah,
more
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the thing is, when you are like pursuing an MBA from US, the first thing is you get is a global network. For example, there would be someone working in sort of Europe, and I can just call him and try to move there if that's possible, right? In terms of IM, though, like top three IMs are definitely a good opportunity to pursue. So it basically depends on you, the as I was talking about the geography you want to be in,
Right.
and the kind of and also whether you want to like pursue your MBA just after the college, or have some work experience. So in my opinion, it's obviously good to have some work experience under your belt, because
Right.
then that also helps you realize and more intuitively feel things you are doing in an MBA. So also, but it's obviously a good option if you try to do like MBA from IIMs. Also, some people who have like already done their like MBA from IIMs, they do like a second MBA, and
Right. An
that's because
executive.
they want to want a change in geography and want a change in salary, because for example, here the base salary is $150,000 compared to what you might be getting out of IIM. I think they have like averages around 25 lakhs or something.
Right.
So it definitely makes up for that. And also you will be like graduating in top tier of people earners in the US. So I think basically it comes down to where you want to be after your MBA. Because if you're like pursuing your MBA from India, so there's a high chance that you'll get a job in India, and then it's a little difficult to make the switch to
Difficult.
the
Right.
US.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. And just one more doubt. If I plan to gain some work experience, what quality of work experience is required, and what basically you should include in your profile, considering my grades are 988, and I guess they give much more weightage to the grades as well as the work experience I apply in the top B schools outside.
Yeah, so it's okay. I mean, like Indian GPA is not uh so basically the GPA won't be a problem, but your GMAT needs to be like in that ballpark I was telling you, 720
Right.
plus. So if you want to go towards that path, so you need to have like a 720 plus GMAT. And I think GPA is fine. You need to have like 8, so that's good. Like when I graduated, I had 8.0, so that wasn't a problem. But it's
Right.
good, always good to have if you're like in top 10% of your class. So that really helps. So they just want to want you to have a good GPA, so that they know that you'll be able to survive in the class, because this is also like a very competitive program. So that's why.
Definitely. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
So one of the points that you touched was people doing a second MBA. It's a personal doubt. Like I have read about that people who do a second MBA have are at a disadvantageous position when applying to schools, like because uh, they
Yeah.
are not accepted at like the other people. I have heard that it's a little disadvantageous for people to do a second MBA.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
admission
So
process is difficult for them basically.
yeah, yeah. So what happens is when you're like applying to a global B school, so they generally have an application where you are supposed to write an essay. So different B schools would have different questions. So what happens is you need to justify your why MBA part. Okay, so when you already have an MBA, so it becomes a little difficult to justify that. And because the one reason you could be getting an MBA is just to make a geography switch, or so you need to have like a sort of very solid reason to pursue a second MBA, because you cannot say that I didn't have like business exposure. For my case, I would just say, hey, why I want to do an MBA, because one, I wanted a global exposure, and second, I came from a technical background, so I didn't have like business education, so it's easier for me to justify that compared to what a second MBA might be doing there.
Yeah, sure. I guess the question about the recommended to do MBA after BTech was cleared out. The next question is a little bit long. I'll read it out slowly. So there's a question by Parth who says that he's a third-year computer engineering student, and he has experience in 3-4 different businesses, and he's presently running a small digital marketing company and working with a edtech startup. So he's very confused whether he needs an MBA or not. So your tips for him?
So I would need a little bit more context around that. Like, Path, please free to unmute yourself and
Yeah, Parth, please ask your question.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to ask you a question. And sir, what's happened is I'm running a little digital marketing company and the podcast where I'm providing the digital marketing, influencer marketing, and the personal branding services. And also, I'm the core team member of the edtech startup, the Trio Teachers, and I have the experience in the 2-3 other businesses like the affiliate and the reselling and the one PG related business. So I'm very confused. I need to do MBA or running my business only.
So see, Path, it depends on you. Like, I would ask, why are you even thinking about doing an MBA? So, like, what's your motive behind that? Like, do you feel that you lack some business skills that an MBA might help you achieve? So I think the question here would be, do you want, like, what do you want to do the post MBA route? Okay. So for example, if you go and pursue an MBA from IIM, so it would be a costly affair. Like, I think they have fees around 25 lakhs or something. So if you have if your business is doing good and you are like able to pay for it, I would suggest that you can try. And definitely another reason to do an MBA would be the kind of network you will be building in India. So MBA is all about network, the kind of people you meet there. So it will all depends on what do you want to achieve after doing an MBA. Like, do you lack business education? Do you feel that? So I think that if you feel that you don't have the right business background, then it would make sense to do an MBA. But if you see like a lot of the founders who like start their startups, they don't have like an MBA. So if you want to go the entrepreneur route, so that's fine, and I don't think you need an MBA for that.
Thank you so much, sir, for tips.
If anyone wants to ask questions, they can unmute. If otherwise, I'll be asking questions. They can put up in the chat box if they want to ask it themselves. We'll be considering you then. For now, yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a question that is
Yep.
there any problem with the CGPA marks for MBA? If we have some low grades in our college time, then it might create a problem.
Yeah. So yeah, it will.
More than
Yeah.
8 is good or not?
Yeah, I think if you are like in the 8 plus ballpark, like even 8.0 is good. It's fine. Like even if you have a 7.5, so what you can, justify that by having a good GMAT score. For example, if you have like a 760, so what happens is if you have like a 9 GP and you are like in top 10% of your class, so that will really help you. Then you can, go away with like a lower GMAT score. But if your GPA would be on the lower side, you need to like justify that with a higher GMAT score. So that's how it works. And also, if you want to like do an MBA from like top IIMs, I think they also have some points on the kind of GPA you would have. So you need to have like a very high percentile in CAT to justify that. So that's how it normally works. So basically, they just want to know that whether you'll be able to survive in the rigorous curriculum. So it works same way both for Indian schools and USB schools. So if you have a lower GPA, so you need to like account for that by scoring higher on the respective tests you would have.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening. This is Dheeraj. Yeah, currently I'm pursuing my mechanical engineering from SVN IT. So the thing is, I've been in this digital marketing. In my after my graduation, I'm looking after to take up this full-time freelancing and digital marketing. So, like, could this affect my freelancing, getting into a freelancing career after my graduation? Is this going to affect in any yeah? I mean, is these schools are gonna uh, I mean, say no to some freelancing careers and all, or do they need some work experience in terms of working in any company? Or I'm just confused between this freelancing career and working in a company and all stuff. Just kind of give me
Yeah.
some light on this.
Yeah, I think both carriers would be fine. So what happens in freelancing is then, I need what you need to do is show them a portfolio of work that you're doing, or you need to like justify them with sort of for what happens is when you're like working in a standard company, how it helps that is like, for example, Reliance is established brand name, so that helps them satisfy that criteria. He was like doing this work full time. Okay, so what will happen in a freelancing work, you need to find some so basically what happens is you need to have two recommenders when you're like applying for global B schools. So like for your case, if you are doing freelancing work, so those can be some of your clients you would have worked with and the kind of feedback they would have, so you can like always approach them and they can write a recommendation for you. Also, a lot of people here are some of them had their own startups. So what happens is, you need to find recommenders basically. So he could be someone who you have raised funding from, or one of your clients. So I think that's the route you could take. So it is fine if you want to like take a freelancing work.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Just before anyone else asks, there are some questions in the chat box that I would like to ask first, then we'll be opening it again for the audience. One of the question is how to select a college or a country to target given scholarship a priority. Like if only scholarship is my top priority, how to
Hmm.
select a college or a country for MBA?
Yeah. So what will happen is, you'll get in scholarship, but the thing is that you need to have like significant professional experiences under your belt then, and a good, very good GPA. Like I'm talking about on top 10% of your class, so like 9 plus, and a high GMAT score. Also, what happens is, you can always do that trade-off whether you want to like go to top 10 schools. So their chances of getting a scholarship would always be lower. But what the other thing you can do is target a top 20 schools, I guess. Like when you are past the top 10 schools, so chances of getting scholarships are higher. And in terms of geography, it again depends mostly, it will obviously depend on your profile you would be having. For example, even if you're like targeting Canada, and if you're like suppose applying with a low GMAT score, low GPA, so getting a scholarship will be very very difficult. And I think same applies to MS programs as well. So there would be some universities like not definitely not in the top 20. So there the chances of getting a scholarship will be higher. But as you go towards top 20 schools, they get like more competitive, and hence getting a scholarship would be like very difficult. Like some of my classmates here have scholarships, but then they have like very significant professional experiences. For example, one of my friend is from IIT Delhi, and he was working in consulting like Kearney is like a reputed
AT
consulting firm.
Kearney.
Yeah, AT Kearney. So normally what these consulting firms do is they just hire from IITs, and you need to have those kind of strong profiles if you are aiming for a scholarship. Otherwise, it will be very difficult if you want to go for top 10 schools and also aim for a scholarship. So it all depends on the kind of profile you are able to present. And also chances of getting scholarship will be higher if you are like working towards more social if you're doing social impact work. So there you can probably, justify that, hey, I was not earning that much compared to, what you would have in a corporate career. So I think chances of getting scholarships are higher on that side.
Okay. I have already told about the GMAT preparation part, but if you can elaborate a bit, like how much time was there is sufficient to prepare for GMAT?
Yeah. So in terms of preparation, as I was telling you, it depends on your capability. So the ideal time is 3 to 4 months. And in talking about the paper, there are 3 sections, I guess. So first is quant, then you have verbal, and in verbal you have the reading comprehension, and then you will have a grammar portion and also critical thinking ability. So what and the paper is sort of adaptive. So what happens is, as you are doing right questions, and it sort of increases the difficulty level. So paper is very adaptive. If you are like doing some questions wrong, one after the other, so the paper's difficulty will reduce and you will get a lower score. But if you are able to if you're doing the questions correctly, so the paper's difficulty level increases, and then you are able to score higher. But the ideal preparation time is, I think, 3 months, and there are like lot of resources you can utilize. So there are official GMAT guides which are available, and also I think so Manhattan is a good resource to have. I think they also like give you things for GRE. So I think you can like leverage those things, and there are, I think, 2 websites. The first is called gmatclub.com. So it's like a good resource to have, because there you it's like a networking site, and you'll find a lot of people who are preparing for GMAT. And also there are some institutions which like coach you, and you can like always join them, but I think that's not required at all. And I think 3 to 4 months you'll be able to do it. Just rely on the official GMAT guides, and just go to mba.com. So that's the official website for GMAT, and it will give you a walkthrough of how the paper will look like, and the official GMAT guides. And then you can utilize the resources around Manhattan. There's another one called Veritas. So there are a couple of resources, but do go to GMAT Club, and definitely make an account there, and you'll find people who will be like studying for GMAT. It has a lot of resources around preparation, as well as B schools.
Okay, thanks for sharing the
Uh,
resources. I think it will be of great help for the aspirants.
Yeah, and just to like tell you that if you are thinking of applying for an MBA after doing some work X, so this is not the right time to give an GMAT. Okay, so if so you guys are just graduating now, so I would say like work for 2 years, and then you can start preparing for GMAT while working. Because GMAT has like a 5 year, though the score is valid for 5 years, but ideally schools would want that you would have given your GMAT in past 1 year or so before applying. So I would say like this is not the right time to start preparing for GMAT. So I would say focus on getting a good job, or if you want to like give a try on CAT, so that's one of the way to go to.
Okay. One of the questions we have here is, does a good B school reject someone who doesn't have a work X?
So Indian IIMs, there is no criteria around WorkX, but for global B school, they'll not even consider you if you have like less than 3 years of work experience.
Okay. Could you please elaborate a little on about the application process and a little tips, especially for Kellogg School of Management?
Yeah, sure. So Kellogg has like 2 tier process. So first is the application part, where you have 2 essays. So both of the essays ask you about your leadership journey. Like they ask you, tell us about the time when you led this team, and how you manage them and stuff. And the second question is around making the right career choices. Like, for example, why did you choose your undergrad? And so it's around making that story. So there are like 2 essays, and then there are like 3 video essays where they want to get to know you. So it's like an introduction about yourself. and telling why MBA, and then there's a random question that comes up which you have to like answer, like tell us about a time when you had like a difficult boss. So this is the application process part of it, and then you get an interview which is a 30-minute interview. So it might be with someone from the admissions team or a Kellogg alum, or might be a second year student or first year student. So that's how it looked. In terms of my journey, I think I approached, like I took a, so I think another thing that really helps you is getting a consultant. So I took help from a consultant who was helping me build my stories, because in all of these applications you'll need some stories. Okay, so that's how the process would look.
Okay, like stories as in?
Stories would be, for example, if you talk about Stanford GSV, so it asks you, like, you have to answer this essay, which is like, what matters to you the most and why. So it's like a 700-word essay, and you need to write that. So it's like a deep contemplation on the kind of choices you had made in your careers and the kind of leadership experiences you might have had. So every different B schools will be asking different questions, but they would be around your leadership experiences you would have.
Okay. There's one question that should we do MS from any foreign country or MBA from a foreign country after BTech?
So it would depend on the kind of career choice you might want to make. So, if you want to end up working in a technical side of things, so MS is the way to go. While if you want to work on the business side, then an MBA is a good option. Also, a lot of time what people do is they first pursue an MS and get into the US and get a job here, build their profile, and then do MBA like 4 5 years down the line. So that's another way to go. But it depends how much money you want to spend, because first you'll be doing your MS, and then later pursuing an MBA. But it depends, where. So it again comes down to where you want to work, and whether you want to be on the technical side or on the business side.
Hello, sir. I have a kind of a follow-up question regarding that.
Yeah.
Sir, if we are doing MS in finance, should we go for MBA ahead?
So one thing I would whenever you are like pursuing a MS path in US, one thing you need to keep in mind is whether that degree is STEM. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So that gives you a chance of three H1B lottery applications. So what happens is, normally if you pursue like a program like MS in finance, so be lookout for like whether it's a STEM degree or not. Also, MS in finance will help you build just not deep knowledge into finance, while MBA is building a deep business foundation altogether. So when you're doing an MBA, so you will not be just learning finance, you'll be learning ops, you'll be learning marketing, you'll be learning sort of strategy. So it's like a full package, while finance is just specializing in one subject matter. And also B school is a lot of building networks, so that might not come with doing MS in finance.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so one of the question here is, does a break after 12th and graduation affects the chances of getting into B schools? Basically the
No.
drop year that
No, it doesn't.
Okay, it does not.
Yeah.
Okay, and one other question is, as a chemical engineer, my end goal is to set up my own factory. So will doing an MBA give me any advantage? Or should I focus more on work experience working in some industry? So basically the question is whether you should be focusing on the study part, going for a degree, or just working in the real industry.
Yeah, sure. So I think both will be fine, I guess. So if you want to like eventually start your own business, it might good to have like industrial experience, because that would help you later on when you're like setting up your own industry. How an MBA would help you is, you'll have like a network build out again. which might help you, later stages. For example, if you want to raise funds for your company, and if you would have like done an MBA from IIM of sorts, so you'll find a lot of alums who would be, higher positions. So always it helps to, have that people in your belt when you're like, you want to raise funds from them, or you want to hire them from your company. So that would be the only advantages. But if you want to like pursue a entrepreneurial path, so MBA is not a requirement for sure.
Okay, so another question is, for the next 5 years, there is this guy who wants to do only digital marketing. So whether MBA is the good choice, or should he go for a digital marketing degree?
So I think if you want to like specialize in digital marketing, MBA would not help you. MBA helps you become a general manager, but you can, also like major in sort of one of the fields. For example, if you are doing an MBA from wherever you want to, you can like, major in marketing. And I think that could be one of the way. But if you want to like specialize in digital marketing only, that's a separate path. So again, like I'm telling you is you need to like really figure out, what do you want to gain from an MBA. Because normally what people do is, why people do MBA just after college, one thing would be, a bump in salary. The other thing is to have like some brand name under your belt. Okay, for example, if you have like a NIT IM degree, so that would really help you boost your career. So it's all about the brands you have under your belt. But if you want to like specialize in digital marketing, I don't think, MBA will be of much use unless you want to become a general manager and take up management position at one of the firms.
Yeah, digital marketing is itself a very unexplored
Yeah.
field till now. So there's a lot of things, going on there. Uh, Again, a little long question. That is a work experience that you have told. How did you get it? Basically, like the work experience you had before getting admitted into Kellogg School of Management. How did it help you basically?
Yeah, so what happened was like in so I didn't want so what I figured out in first day of my journey at Reliance, that I don't want to work in a core field, because I didn't like that. So that's why, I wanted to move more on the business side. So that's why I like switched and moved to Go Massive. So there, what really helped me is like when you're like working in venture capital, so you are getting exposed to this whole big startup ecosystem in India and evaluating these different companies. So it helps you build, a lot of experiences around, how this business model would work, how the startup raise funds, and how startups think about, their go-to market strategy, like how they want to position themselves in the market. So I think it helps you like build a very diverse set of skill sets. And also, since it always, when you're like working in a startup culture, what happens is you need to wear a lot of different hats, and that helps you build a diverse set of skill set, not only from a leadership perspective, but the kind of experiences you might be having. So, I think what worked for me was that I could differentiate myself, because firstly, I was working in clean tech. And since it was, a smaller firm with, in terms of numbers, I had a lot of responsibilities, and I got like exposed to different things around, operations, then finance. So I think that really helped me.
Okay, so like are there some companies that, working in them would provide a better work experience in the business field? Like they say before doing an MBA, consultancy firms are a very
Yeah.
good way to get into B schools abroad because they
Yeah.
provide. Are there some specific companies like that?
Yeah. So definitely, if you can like crack McKinsey, BCG, Bain, so that is like, a moonshot thing. If you, but what happens is normally these consulting firms hire from IITs only. So
Yes.
getting directly to one of these will be a difficult thing to do, especially out of an IT. Like it is the fact of the matter. But I would definitely say that you can also, these are those firms which not will not be coming on campus. So you need to be lookout for the job openings on like a channel through LinkedIn or something. But definitely there are people who have, break into the firm even from our NIT. So I think definitely if you have like experiences with top consulting firms or Fortune 500 companies, that will like really help you when you're writing your applications.
Okay. One of the question is by Priyansh, which I'm not able to grasp properly, so I would request him to ask the question. Priyansh, are you there? You may unmute your mic and ask.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're
Yep, yep.
audible. You may ask.
Yeah, sir. So basically, I just wanted to know that how and when you figured out that you would like to pursue MBA in foreign. Like, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So, Priyansh, right? Priyansh. So what happens, Priyansh, that like after doing my undergrad from NIT, I was not happy with the experience, and I'm sure you guys would also be not like some people enjoy it, but like I didn't like my experience in undergrad, so definitely I didn't want to pursue an education in India. The second thing is like I wanted a change in geography, and I believe that the US is a land of opportunities, and the kind of career I wanted to build was more suitable for me to like move to a US. Also, the kind of earning I had working in India. So doing an MBA from India would not have made much sense for me. So those were the two or three reasons I would say. First is like geographical location. The second one is bump in salary, and the third one is the kind of teaching experience you get outside versus what you get in India.
Is your doubt clear, Priyansh?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So one of the question is also, which I share the question is, how did you make a switch from venture capitalism from industrial experience? Like,
Yeah, sure,
venture,
sure.
yeah.
So, what happened was my venture capital firm used to invest in clean technologies. So those were around, maybe solar, electric vehicles and all that. So firstly, the chemical engineering background helps you understand that technologies. And secondly, Reliance, I was working in energy generation on only. So I think worked for me and I was able to make the switch.
Yeah. Okay, so can you tell us about the courses in B school? Like, till when did you have a common course, and when do you get to choose a specific field, like IB in
Yeah.
consulting or marketing, etc.?
Yeah. So this is what happens is when you're like going to a global B school, so they want you to have like a career path set in your mind. Like this is my background, I'll do an MBA, and this is the industry I want to end up in. So the first day you are in college, the recruiting starts, and people are like quite sure in their mind in which industry they want to end up in. For example, I wanted to do consulting, so that's how my application was. Like I want to do an MBA to build this business skill set, and it will help me land at this particular firm. So that's how the story normally builds up. So if you are like working in an if you're doing an MBA from an Indian school, so they would not expect you to have like a specific industry in your mind. But when you have already worked, sort of where you want to eventually end up in. For example, if you are working as a software engineer, you would might want to end up in a product management role, or you would want to do consulting. So like that was quite sure in my mind. The second thing is in how the curriculum works here is there are some core courses that you need to do. So these would be in strategy, finance, marketing. And then once you have that under your belt, then you can choose specific electives in the major you want to end up in. For example, I wanted to do finance and strategy, so my core courses were like finished. So Kellogg works on a quarter system, so we have like 6 quarters, like 3 each. So like I was done with all my core courses in the last quarter, and now I am like doing electives more in finance and strategy because I want to like major there. And I think in Indian B schools also it works sort of in a similar way. You'll have some core classes which helps you build, initial business foundation, and then wherever you want to end up in, for example, if you want to do finance, so you can like take those electives and end up there. But it's all about so what happens is all these schools work on a bidding system, so you cannot do like everything. You have to use your points judiciously and the path you want to take.
So is it true that consultancy requires a lot of travel?
Yeah. Consulting definitely requires a lot of travel. It also depends on the firm you are working for. There are some firms where travel is not required, but otherwise, you'll be traveling most of the time, like 4 days a week at least. So, and also it's like a very a difficult job to do because the work hours are long. So you can expect to work like 16 hours a day at least. But the pay is good, and I don't think you'll regret it.
That's exciting and intriguing. But
Yeah.
yeah. So how challenging was your life at Kellogg? And what
Yeah,
fascinates
I'm
you the most?
yeah, it's still challenging. I'm still in my first year. But I think it's a fun experience. Kellogg is a lot. It's like a lot of social school. So what happens is you get to meet a lot of people. Definitely the academics are challenging because there's significant amount of work that you need to put in to like survive here, but it's manageable. Like Indians do good because the kind of you guys are already engineers, and I think engineering is definitely a tougher degree than an MBA. So yeah, so you should be good, so that's not a problem.
Yeah, they say, right, and if you get through a B school, then you can get through any industry in the
Yep.
future.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's this question that do we specifically need work X in the fields of management or finance, etc., or any work X will work?
No, any so it's not I don't think it's a requirement like you need to be on the business side. So a lot of people come from different backgrounds. For example, some of my friends were software engineers, so like they were working in core fields, and one of my friend is was working in Shell. So again, he was working in oil and gas, and that was a very technical experiences. So I think all of them are fine as long as you. So what happens is when you like start working, you will be developing some leadership experiences, and you need to have some impact on your good impact on your work. Like I think that is the only thing that matters.
Yeah. So from the chat, so I think all the questions have been covered. Is there
Sir.
anyone who wants to ask? Yeah. There's someone
Hello, sir.
unmute.
Yeah, hi.
So, sir, in our club, we had a debate on whether MBA is necessary to have a good business or to be a good businessman or not. So, being an MBA grad, you perform too much case studies. You know too much about the whole world, the all markets, all the relation of the markets. But the real world experience can beat the MBA grad or not.
So see, definitely, like having an industry exposure works. So that's why, like I had worked before pursuing my MBA, so I knew what I want to gain through my MBA, right? But definitely, apart from building some skill sets, you can like build that out of business school also. So MBA is, not a requirement to be a good businessman, I would say, because there are a lot of intuitive things which you already would have developed without having a business education. So I would say it's not a requirement. And again, I would come back to the fact why you do an MBA is to build a network which will be helping you in some way or other in your life. And if you are okay to go on without that, that's also fine. I mean, a lot of the startups you have in India, these people don't have like a business degree, so it's completely fine.
Yeah, one more doubt, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask whether you plan to come back to India, considering the possibility of like it's very exciting to go for an MBA abroad, owing to the different exposure as well as the different country. But coming down to the what will say the purchasing parity or the ROI, like if you come back to India, at what difference would it make doing for your pay, considering the Indian B school or coming from the abroad, and the difference between your pay gap
Yeah.
between these B schools?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to like come back to India if you're like doing an MBA from US, because if you come back to India, as you rightly said, because of purchasing power parity, you're definitely going to hit on your salary. So if I'm talking say about my loan, so I think I cannot like pay that while working in India. So
Right.
if you are planning to do an MBA from US, so I think you have to like work here for some time at least to pay back to your loans. Or if you have like funded that using your own funds, so I think then it might be a good. It depends on you then if you want to like come back to India or like work in the US.
Right, right. Just that it'll take around 1 or 2 years for you to cover the overall expense of the MBA, or even less than that.
Yeah, it takes 3 to 4 years. 1 2 years, no. It takes so if you do an MBA from ISB, it will take 3 to 4 years. If you do an MBA from US, it will take 3 to 4 years. So wherever you do your MBA from, other than I think IIMs have like a significant lower ROI in terms of how, because they're like
Right.
significantly cheaper. But like if you do any MBA after WorkX, so I think 3 to 4 years is normally the time it takes to pay back your loans.
Right, right, right. Thanks a lot.
Another question is, like Kellogg is an internationally acclaimed school, so it's as a wide, alumni network. So how does it help you, or like it will help you in the future?
So it depends how you want to leverage that network. For example, I would say if in the future I would be starting my own startup, so I will have network of these globally acclaimed alumni, whom I can recruit or even raise funds from. And also when you talk about like the global exposure I might have, so I might have, if I want to like work in Hong Kong for say, so I'll find someone working there, and I can just like connect through our Kellogg backgrounds and land a job there because we have that we are in that network. So that's how it helps. And also it helps you when you might be starting your own firm, or you like working for a firm where you want to recruit people, and if you know people who are present all around the world, so I think that really helps. So it depends how do you want to leverage that network.
Yeah. So if I don't get into a good B school, like one of the top 10 B schools, so should I take admission in an average B school if my goal is only to change my geography or demographics?
Also, so now if you go for a lower rank B school, what will have is the chances of getting jobs reduces. I think similar thing happens in India also. So I think that would be a major problem, and I would say that don't aim for going below top 20 B schools, because getting a good job out of the lower ranked school is very difficult. So, and then obviously, and the funds the funds required would be will be almost same, but then you will be not able to secure a good job. So I don't think that's a path you want to follow.
Yeah, then return on investment would not be that good, I guess.
Yeah,
So I think all the questions have been covered.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
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 and also I think I have a hard stop here, but
yeah, okay.
I'm like, please share my email ID with the people,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm happy to like answer questions on email and
yeah,
connect with people one on one if needed. Okay.
yeah. We'll be concluding now. First of all, thank you, sir, for joining with us.
Yeah,
So it was a pleasure having you, seeing in college alumni who
yeah,
has got into such a top B school like Kellogg School of Management. And we'll be sharing sir's LinkedIn ID and email in the chat box. Those who want to connect with him can. And yeah. So we'll be happy to connect with you further also. It was a really helpful session for all of us, I'm sure. Sir's ID has been shared. So thank you so much, sir, for being with us here today.
Yeah, good to meet you all. I can imagine this is not an ideal setting, and I hope you guys are keeping safe. Things are not good in looking good in India, but be safe, and hopefully you guys are able to be in person. I don't know, you know, being virtually in final year would have been like difficult for you. So hopefully things clear out and you guys are able to meet and be in person whenever that's possible, right?
Yes, sir. So thank you for handling the cannonball of questions that we put up here. Sorry for that, but a lot of people had a lot of doubts.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You know, I'm happy to like answer questions on email also and connect one-on-one if needed. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so
I have
much.
a last question. Just
Yeah, please.
So, like as you told, we should be having a STEM background in order to be considered for an H-1B visa, right? So, having an engineering background from India, and after that doing an MBA from America, like will I be considered for H-1B?
Yeah. So you'll be like considered for H-1B anyways, but if your degree is not STEM certified, so you just get like one shot or like two shot at lottery. While if you have STEM certified degree, so you get like three shots at your H-1B. So you know most of the MBA programs are now STEM certified, and like the MS program. So I think you get like three shots at H-1B lottery.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so I guess that's puts it to the end of the talk.
Yep.
Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Okay, guys. Bye.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We have shared sir's information in the chat box. Those who want to contact him personally. Thank you very much for being in the talk. Tomorrow is the last day for the Luminaries 2.0 talks. So please register for the talk. We have already shared the